Oh, good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And today, on Friday, November 11th, preparation day, we are getting ready for understanding the P.I.L.L Method Part 2. Oh, we did Part 1 the other day, and it got kind of exciting. People were coming up to the stage asking questions. What is the P.I.L.L method? How does it apply to me? And understanding for about 88 years, since 1934, this way of paying back loans started to become popular. Amortized loans. It gave us a payment we could afford, but it also gave us a payment that was really, really expensive in terms of how much interest we're actually paying. Oh man, the percentage is way high. We discovered that some of us, when we get a mortgage or other loans, that when you look at the percentage of money that goes to principal and goes to interest, it could be something like this: 70 to 80% of your payment goes to interest when you do the math, and only 20% goes 20 to 30% goes to the principal. If you broke it down by every dollar that goes to your mortgage, if you broke it down, so $1 goes to my mortgage, okay, out of my whatever your payment is, $2,300, $3,200, $2,500, whatever it is, for every dollar, 80 cents of that dollar goes to interest to the bank. 20 cents pays down your loan. How fair is that? So folks, if you want to know more about the P.I.L.L method, and the P.I.L.L method, we developed this to help people to understand prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. When you understand those four basic principles, you begin to understand how complicated this whole business of loans actually is, and why we developed a computer program that we call our opportunity cost calculator to break this all down. So if, in fact, the bank is using math and using timing so that we pay 80% of our payment dollar going to interest, because it's math and because it's timing, how would you like to turn that all around, where 20% of your money went to interest and 80% of your money went to the loan that you got to get your house, to get your car, to buy your education? The reason we're in long-term debt, folks, don't listen to the pundits. Don't listen to those people who call themselves so-called experts in the field, because they're making long-term debt your problem, your fault. You didn't come up with an amortization schedule. You just wanted to buy a house for your family. Not your fault. That how to understand loans, the very basic framework that this whole idea of amortized loans is directly responsible for building the middle class. Home ownership. The wealth created from home ownership is a principal part of building the middle class through the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. We became a nation of home buyers and not just renters because of the amortized loan. But it's not taught how to understand it anywhere. Listen, let me ask you, we've got some people in here right now. We've got people in the room on Clubhouse right now. We also have some people who are watching us live. We're 2 minutes in. Can I ask the first question? How have any of you ever had a class on the amortized loan and how to defeat it? Put a yes or a no in the chat. Have any of you ever had a class on how to understand the loans so that you can take advantage of the loan and not let the loan take advantage of you? How many of you have had that? Let me see here. Derek says, no, sir. No, sir. Liza, thank you very much for being here. She says, thank you. Lena Baker says, no, never. Never. Do you know I've been asking that question? I've been asking that question for the last 16 years from some financial experts, or people who work in finances, like loan officers, real estate agents, financial planners, and CPAs. Do you know that this is not taught? And we're going to go over that a little bit today. Oh, Keisha, look at you. I see you there. She says, nope. She didn't get it either. All right. And Alan Akins look here. Alan Akins is watching us, folks, from YouTube. And he says, no, he hasn't either. Now, Ken, listen, I think it's important to point this out. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not trying to figure out what is the grand scheme of things here. I'm just saying, if we're expected to use loans, okay, for housing, to buy cars, to buy our education, to use our daily lives as credit cards, try to get on a plane without, a credit card. Try to rent a car without a credit card. Try to do anything without credit. It's very difficult, okay? And it has become such a vital part of our lives. And can you imagine something so vital? We know virtually nothing about it, how it was constructed, where it came from, the history of it. I wrote a book on it, and I'm still searching for who actually wrote the first amortization schedule. I can't find him. I can't find the person. So listen, if you can do this additional research and help me, I would appreciate it very much. If you're watching us live or watching the replays, I would like to know who wrote the first amortization schedule, the one that we're using now to charge us 75% more interest than we need to pay. But the real reason why, Liza says, never, and she has 2 degrees in business, and they're not teaching this in business school. Come on, folks. What is up with this? Here's what I need you to understand. Come on, get in here close. I'm looking. If you can see me, I'm looking dead into the camera. And if you're listening to me on Clubhouse, I need you to listen closely. How is it that a nation, not just a nation, a whole world, that uses credit, uses borrowing to buy property or to buy education or to buy a car, how is it that we're not taught how the whole thing works in school? How did that get left out of the curriculum? And I don't know how it did, but I believe I know why it did. Are you ready? All right. If you want to know why, if you want to know what I believe as to why it was left out of the curriculum, I need you to put a number 9 in the chat. Put a number 9 in the chat if you want to know why it was left out, because it will shock you when I tell you why this information about how lending actually works and how much money the bank is actually making on these loans and how much what we don't know about lending will fill an ocean. It is way more money than we think. So, folks, okay, I see a bunch of number 9s in the chat. Could you also, I promised to tell you, but I only have 2 shares. Could you share this a little bit more out into the hallway so other people can come in and see what's going on? And I will even share it this morning, and then I'll tell you why, or at least what I believe. All right? All right, get in here. Get in here. All right? And then, put some exclamation points behind it and some other emojis. Get in here. All right? So I just shared it. You share it too. Here's why. Because the system that banking is using around the world to make so much money, this amortized formula, and I'm going to show it on the screen today. This formula that they use has a profound weakness. Yeah. It makes them a lot of money, but the reason why we don't know about it is because it's built on a weakness. The whole thing. You know what a house of cards is? You're building a house of cards, you remove one card, the whole thing falls down. Okay? The weakness is this. You can never, ever, ever, ever know how they do what they do. Once you know how it works, you begin to understand how you can unravel the whole thing, how you can stop paying all of that interest once you know how it works. This is why it's not taught in school. Now, I don't know the whole, the whole reason behind, how they did that and what the thinking was on how to accomplish the goal. I do know this. Once you understand it, once you figure it out, you don't pay interest like you're paying it now. It is not necessary. And it's quite easy not to pay that interest, especially when you know how much money is actually involved. Now, there is a difficult part in this, and that is optimizing your interest savings. What do I mean by that? Optimizing your interest savings means this. I want to be able to save the most amount of interest I possibly can with the amount of money that I make. The reason why I want to save the most interest I can is this. The more interest you save, the faster you get out of debt. The more interest you pay, the longer you stay in debt. The length of time you stay in debt is directly proportional to how much interest you pay. And this is why we are not taught how a loan actually works, because we would reduce the amount of interest we pay, and therefore it is possible to be out of debt totally in an average of 7 to 9 years on average, instead of 30 years to never. I asked the question the last time we were here. Out of all the people you know that ever had a mortgage, how many of them do you know that actually paid one off? It's going to be less than 10% of the people you know. Why are we in a system where over 90% of us will fail to do the very thing we set out to do? 90%. There is something happening here that we need to know more about. Don't you think? Don't you think? All right. So I've got 8 shares in here. I see Norman in here. I see Tiffany in here. Tiffany is here. I see Keisha here. I see LaShawna here. I see Charlene is in the building. Giovanni is here again. All right. So let's see here. All right. Let me see. Where are you from? All right. Norman Hardman says they expect most crabs to stay in the monthly payment bucket. All right. Tiffany Saunders says, good morning. Driving. She's in Houston. Do you know I just left Houston? Okay. I just left Houston. I was in Houston this past weekend. And Laverne says she's from St. Louis, Missouri. Okay, great. Laverne, do you know? Have you ever heard of a small town called Hayti, Missouri, or Haiti, Missouri? Hayti, Missouri. Have you ever heard of it? Because that's where my mother's from. All right. I've never been there. I've just heard about it. Georgia. Norman Norman Hardman says from Georgia. I got Mr. 44A. Thank you for from chiming in from Ohio. Giovanni, Houston, Texas. Giovanni, I was in Houston. Listen, man. Charlene says from Long Island. Oh my gosh. Live in Gloucester, Virginia. Okay, great. Lizette says good morning. She's from Naples, Florida. Oh, Lizette, I hope everything is okay with you because of because you guys are getting hit with these hurricanes and stuff. So I hope you're okay. All right. And LaShonda, I'm sorry, LaShwandra. Okay, LaShondra. Listen, folks, forgive me if I mess up your names. I'm so sorry. Plummer, Miss Plummer from South Florida. Thank you. Derek from Maryland. All right. Okay. And I'm right here in Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, Alabama is where the show originates from today. So I want to invite you to raise your hand and come to the stage and ask your question and put in your 2 cents. So we're going to invite Miss Laverne up to the stage because she's raised her hand. Come on up. All right. Thank you. Miss Laverne, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. How are you? I'm new to the stage and new to this room and just wanted to know what the P.I.L.L method was.
Okay. So in short, let me go over the P.I.L.L method for you and what it's all about. Okay. And then let's talk about it a little bit. So many property owners are attempting to pay down their mortgages, their business loans, excuse me. They're attempting to pay down their mortgages, their business loans, their student loans, and all other debt. Even if they even have low interest rates, okay? Yet, they are incurring huge unnoticed interest costs. And by doing that, they're staying in debt longer because of these interest costs. We provide our clients with personal instruction and an artificially intelligent cloud-based computing system that guides them to total debt freedom in about 7 years. And we do that by eliminating up to 75% of the interest that the bank wanted them to pay, and they end up paying a lot less. And these are the scheduled interest payments. Okay, so we're figuring out how not to give them all that money. All this is done without refinancing the loans, by using your current budget, meaning how much money you're actually making now, and without sacrificing lifestyle, meaning you don't have to stay at home. You don't have to give up vacations. You don't have to eat beans and rice 7 days a week to get this done. You don't have to cut up your credit cards. You don't have to drive a 30-year-old car. You don't have to sell pizzas at night to get this whole thing done. You can use your current budget with understanding the math and understanding the timing, where we can disrupt the bank's timing and make it impossible for them to charge you all of that interest. What do you think, Ms. Laverne?
I am very interested, so I will be sticking around.
All right, listen, I'm going to be putting some things on the screen, and if you want to see the numbers, because you know what they say, Ms. Laverne, people lie, but numbers don't lie.
Amen.
If you want to see the numbers to prove out what we're saying today, you can actually watch it on YouTube or Facebook. You can go to pull up a laptop or your tablet, and you can watch this as well as listen to it on Clubhouse. What do you think?
That is awesome.
Okay, I'm going to be putting the numbers on. So are you in a position to do that today?
Absolutely.
All right. So which do you think you like best of the platforms that I mentioned? YouTube, Facebook, whatever.
I think probably for me, YouTube.
Okay, so if you go to YouTube and then search Pill Method, you'll find us and you'll see one marked live. And you just click on that one and you can watch us live. Now, there's going to be a slight delay between what I'm saying and what you're seeing. Because, doing it that way, there's always a delay. But, you'll be able to, catch up and do what we're talking about. And if you want to ask some questions about what you're seeing, feel free. I love it when people interrupt me to ask a question.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. All right, folks, you heard it. Bring your question. I see Miss Tiffany with a party hat here. That means you've been in Clubhouse less than a week. And thank you for spending your time learning about this whole process right here with us and choosing us to be one of the first shows that you attended right here on Clubhouse. Folks, if you want to know more about what we're talking about and hear more about this, here's what you could do. Do you see that green mansion at the top of the room there, right next to Pill Method, that green little house? Go ahead and tap that house, and you can join the Pill Method Club. And then you can click the always bell. All right, so that you will always know when we're on and get notified. All right. And even when we put up a schedule a show, you will see a notification and you can RSVP, and so that you can get a double notification when we go live. All right. So you can watch us that way and listen to us that way. And then when we right now we're simulcasting to YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn all at the same time, so people can see what we're talking about. All right. So we're getting some people here. I see James in here. James, I see you, man. Don't be trying to sneak into the room. Come on, folks. Listen, you guys need to raise your hand and say something, because James he works a lot. Okay. So James, thank you for being here, man, and signing up for coming in here and saying hi to us. And listen, we got Qatar, we got Tanya. Man, we got some more people coming in. Go ahead and continue to share the room. We got up to 29 people in here now. Okay. So let me go ahead and get started with helping us to understand the P.I.L.L method. So if you're ready to find out part 2 of the P.I.L.L method and what it is we need to know that the banks don't want us to know. Because once you know it, once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is, can you share YouTube? Yes, you can. You can share YouTube Live. All right. There's a way to share. All right. Somebody wants to know that you can share YouTube Live. And I just can't explain it to you right now. But yeah, you can share it, and you can share if you see us on Facebook. You can share that. So there's some 3 dots or 3 lines or something there that you can click on, and then you can see how you can share this out to your people on Facebook. So, and also you can copy our link. And you can share it as a text. You can share it on Facebook. You can share that link on Facebook. You can share that link anywhere. All right. So people can see what we're doing. And so you can invite them in. All right. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to put this on the screen right now. So my Kirk Nugent is our engineer. And he's saying, Don, yes, I would love to be able to share what you're putting up, but you have to put the screen up. All right, so we're going to share the screen. All right, put that on there, and then we're going to bring up our information, and there it is. All right. So the name of this, and now we're going to we're going to skip to where we left off of on Wednesday. Okay. Now this is going to be so exciting. Now here's the first thing you want to do. So if you want to know what we talked about prior to this, watch part 1. All right. It'll say how to pay off mortgages. Okay. How to pay off mortgages. And where's my, all right, how come it's not showing up? Okay, because I don't know why it went to that screen instead. All right, hold on, Kirk. So it went to the wrong screen. Let me get out of here. And I don't want it to go to this screen. I want it to go to the other screen. All right, let me see if I can try it again. Nope, I went to the wrong screen again. So let me do this and switch this over here. And then I need to share a different screen with you. Okay, and stop screen, present, share screen. And then we're going to do screen 2 today, sir. All right. And now we're going to try it again. All right. There it is. All right. It worked this time. All right. Excellent. All right, folks. Let's get ready. Let's dig into this. P.I.L.L method stands for prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity. And as a quick overview, all right, when prepayment of principal means this, giving the bank money before it's due, giving the bank money before it's due. When you do that, it's called prepaying, and it goes to principal. Now, here is what we don't know about that. We know that we can pay more, we can pay extra at any time. What we don't know is what happens when we do. You know you're saving time and you know you're saving interest, but you will be flabbergasted. I mean, you will be knocked off your feet when you find out how little money it takes to save a whole lot of interest using your current budget. So that's what we're going to be talking about first today is prepayment of principal. And if you want to see this on screen, folks, you would go to, oh, look at there. Crystal, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm wonderful. Thank you. How are you doing?
I am doing well this morning. I'm doing well. And it was such a pleasure to see you this past weekend in Houston. And how are you doing with what we've learned about how to purchase property creatively?
Oh, wow. Yeah, we did have an amazing time in Houston. It's always great to see you. So I had already started driving through areas that I was interested in investing in and looking up addresses. And so since I've been back, I have doubled that list and continue to do my research. So today I will be finishing that up and making some phone calls. And the Wednesday information was really good because that step by step kind of tie in what we had in the class on Wednesday. I'm not Wednesday, I'm sorry, over the weekend. And it made it a little bit clearer. So I'm just ready to actually get my first deal where I can utilize making offers and really see how this works because I was confused going into Houston and it wasn't making sense because I'm a visual learner. So seeing everything on the whiteboard and in the workbook really helped me make sense of it all. What
Okay.
about you?
Well, listen,
What have you been doing since you got back?
I've already interviewed my first homeowner that is a distressed homeowner. I interviewed yesterday. I've got all the notes. So we're going to see how we can put together a deal to help them in their situation. They're trying to stave off a foreclosure. And I think we might be able to help them. So based on the information that I've learned from the folks at BOB, Brian Holman, and Byron Holman, and Brian, how do you pronounce his last name? Arigbu. Brian Arigbu and Byron Holman from the BOB. And then listen, folks, if you want to get in on some good real estate or financial information, BOB, Business Over Breakfast, is here 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday on Clubhouse. You want to tap in. All right, folks.
You know, they rebranded to the No Stingy Energy podcast now. So and they were definitely not stingy with the energy with us, right?
Oh, right. So they're giving out all the sauce, folks. They're giving it all out. All right. And I love what they're doing. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to pin my link to the top of the screen here. Pin my link. Hold on. Pinned link. It is ice10k.com. There we go. All right. And when people come in and they want to know how to see, if you're in the chat, if they want to know how to see the screen, there's a button in the link up top that says watch us live. And then we have separate buttons for each live show. All right. We got a button for Facebook. We got a button for YouTube. We got a button for Twitter, and we got a button for LinkedIn. And if you can get that link, you can copy the link and then put it into your information on your tablet or your computer, and you can watch us live here. So first of all, prepayment of principal amounts. Let's go over it, folks. Let's see what this means. And here is the first step in understanding prepayment of principal, understanding what's in your loans. Here is what's in your loans right now. Okay? Watch this. Listen. The borrower's right to prepay. What did I say? It is your right to prepay. And you need to understand what happens when you do to disrupt the bank's timing, which makes it impossible for them to charge you all of this interest. I have a right. I have the right to make principal payments at any time before they are due. This is what it says. This is language. You have similar language in your loans already. This exists in your paperwork already. It's just that no one is there to, point it out and teach you what it means until now. All right. You have the right to make principal payments at any time before they are due. A payment of principal only is known as a prepayment. When I make a prepayment, I will tell the note holder in writing that I am doing so. Now, the language will be probably changed a little bit in your document, but as long as you let your note holder, the person who holds your note, know how you want, it's time for you want to make a prepayment, they will let you know how it's done for their banking institution. It is not standard across the board. Believe me. Here, I had a lady once who wanted to put a certain amount of money on her loan, and it was about $40,000. She was going to put a $40,000 prepayment on her mortgage, and I instructed her to call her bank to get the rules for that particular bank. Okay. But because she was familiar with how this works with other banks, what she did was she put on her check, because she writes checks. So she put on her check in the memo section, apply to principal only. Then she wrote out a note. And she wrote on the note, apply this payment to principal only, and then wrap the check up in the note, and then placed it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, address it, and send it to her bank. Once the bank received the information, guess what? Somebody opened up the letter, took a look at the note, balled up the note, threw the note away. Okay, they had to, because what they did with her $40,000 was put that money in her escrow account. Even though the note said put it on principal, even though the memo said put it on principal, they took that money and put it in her escrow account. What's an escrow account? That's the account that the bank sets up for you, where your taxes, your tax money that and insurance money that is part of your mortgage payment, they put that in that savings account for you so that they can pay your taxes and insurance for you, every year. Why did the bank, even though she clearly spelled out what she wanted to do with that money, why did the bank put that money in her escrow account? Number one, because that's their default. When you send extra money, they will automatically put it in your escrow account if you have one. Now, if you don't have an escrow account, there's only one place they can put that money. It is put it on principal. But if you have an escrow account, the default is to put it there. Well, even if the default is to put it in escrow, why did they do it? Since she wrote on the note and on the check where I want my money to go. Because at her bank, the rules are this. You must fax us. Come on now. You have to fax us the information that you want this money applied to principal. You got to fax us first. That's the rules at that bank. She refinanced out of that loan and went to another bank. Because that was crazy. That was crazy. Hey, Sandra, how you doing? Right here.
No way, she couldn't just require that they move the funds from escrow to her principal?
Oh, yes, they did. It takes a few phone calls, but you can get it moved. It was she just thought that was just so crazy that who would have a rule that you have to fax us first? I mean, who would even think about that? Come on. So she moved banks. Because it took, I think it took her like 2 or 3 phone calls and to get that money moved from her escrow account and applied to principal.
Although it was in writing,
in
the form of a letter that arrived via mail,
yep,
they required it to arrive in writing via fax.
Exactly. That was their requirement.
Oh, yeah, I would leave them too. That's ridiculous. I wouldn't trust them to manage my money.
Can you imagine that? All right. So this is why it's important, folks, when you're doing anything like this, that you get proper instruction and then follow the rules. Once you follow the rules, you're going to be golden. Okay. And this is why we're teaching what we're teaching. Now, here is the second paragraph to this. The borrower's right to prepay. When I make a prepayment, I will tell the note holder in writing that I'm doing so, or however they want to be informed. I may make a full prepayment. Now, that means you can pay the loan off. You can pay that loan off anytime. Did you realize that? I can make a full prepayment or partial prepayments without paying any prepayment charge. In plain language, here's what this means. When you pay that money, because you pay it in the same month, you make a regular payment, your regular payment has already taken care of your obligation to pay interest. So when you send additional money, you don't have to pay any more interest that month. So that money gets applied to the loan without paying any interest out of that money. That is a definite key. And we're going to learn how to read an amortization schedule here in just a minute. Okay. So here's the last paragraph. And this is the one that's most powerful. Okay. This is the one that is the most powerful. Watch this. The note holder will use all of my prepayments to reduce the amount of principal that I owe under this note. Again, they're telling us what happens with the money. Anytime you have a prepayment, they will All your money goes to reduce the principal. None of your money goes to pay interest because it's a prepayment. Prepayment by nature, no, you're not paying any interest out of that money. None. So the rest of this says if you make a partial prepayment, there will be no charges. There will be no changes in the due date or the amount of my monthly payment. Now let's stop there. This is what this means, so it won't be any confusion. When you pay extra on your loan, there won't be any changes in your due date, meaning you will have a mortgage payment next month. All right. Also, it says there won't be any change in my due date or in the amount of my monthly payment. Your monthly payment will not change. Your monthly payment will be exactly the same. So what changes? What changes is the number of payments you will have. If you have a mortgage that's 360 payments and you use the P.I.L.L method system, did you realize with your current budget, you can cut that down to about 90 payments instead of 360? Okay. So if we put on here, if I said, oh, I can put down, 90, 93 payments. All right. Instead, I'm going to pull up my calculator here and then put in my calculator, 90 payments instead. So we're going to do 90 payments. Let's do 93. Divide that by 12. Oh, yeah. That's less than 8 years. Okay. You can pay off everything in about 7 years. We take 360 payments and show you how to reduce it to 90 with your current budget, and you don't have to sacrifice lifestyle. Okay. So that's it, folks. That's what it says in your loans right now. And right now we have 24 people in there. I've got 10 shares. Can I get some more shares so that we can get into this? Now, here's the thing. Remember when I told you there is a weakness in how banking does their loans. Okay. Using the amortization schedule that they've chosen to use, it makes them a lot of money. Now, why don't they teach this to their own employees? Why isn't it taught in school? Why don't CPAs understand this? Liza is here with us today. She's a realtor. She holds 2 business degrees, and none of this was taught in her business classes, how a loan actually works. And none of this was taught in her preparation to get her license to become a realtor. What? Realtors aren't taught how a 30-year mortgage actually works? That is amazing. Huh. And the bank the people who own the bank understand it very well. Do you know that the bank does not teach their loan officers how a loan actually works? You see, people who we call bankers, when you walk into the bank, you say, I want to see a banker. You might as well say, I want to see a salesperson, because that's what they're taught to do, to sell bank products. And you don't have to understand the product to sell it. To do that, you can use people's perception or what they believe is going on to give them that particular product. They believe that they understand it, so no one corrects them on how all this is done. Besides, the person that you're talking to understands loans the same way you do. In fact, the bank, although they can save their own employees a lot of money, they sell the bank product to their own employees the very same way. Why do they do that? So they will have, there won't be any conflict between what they're selling to the general public and what they're doing themselves. They really do believe that they're doing the right thing when they're telling you how you should manage your loans, when it should when it's time to refi? Should you consolidate some of your high interest debt into your loan by refinancing it into your loan? Should you get a 30-year loan, a 15-year loan, a 20-year loan? Should you buy down the rate? All of these things that they're taught to do, they're doing themselves. So they don't have a problem teaching it to you. And when we understand some of these basics, you'll understand why we teach mostly the exact opposite of what is being taught as what do we call it? Best practices in banking when it comes to loans. Watch this, folks. Let's get into this thing. So if you want to know how to read an amortization schedule, the basics, this is not the P.I.L.L method. And I've got to get this out here. I am not telling you how our program works. I'm just telling you right now how the bank makes its money and how we can disrupt their timing. All right. How we cannot pay all the interest. Our program is more specific and it is more powerful when we use our computers to move the right amount of money in the right month on the right day of the month to the right loan so that we can optimize and maximize your interest savings. Oh, yeah. Whatever you do. So what we're taught, folks, is that anything you do to get out of debt is as good as any other thing you can do. Oh, no, that is not true at all. Watch this, and I'll tell you another story about one of my clients. Right now, we have on the screen, if you want to know about, I got this $200,000 loan at 6%. If you want to know how to read an amortization schedule, if you want to know what the banks don't want you to know about reading this, because once you know how to read it, you can't unsee it. And it's going to be so simple. Some of you are going to want to say some bad words. Okay. All right. So if you want to know how to read an amortization schedule, I need you to put number 9s in the chat. Anybody who wants to know how to read an amortization schedule, whether you're online or in Clubhouse, put a number 9 in the chat and I will show you exactly what banks don't want you to know and how they're making so much money in interest and how you can save at the same rate they're charging you. You do not have. Derek wants to know how to read it. Anybody else? Oh, Kia. Lena, listen, she said, give me 3 9s. She said she put 3 9s in there. Anybody else? All right. Zula G says, I want to know how to do. Laverne says, I want to know. Laverne just said, listen, she put it in there twice. Keisha says she wants to know. All right. Let's figure out what's going on with these loans so that what is so powerful that the bank is doing. All right. Charlene wants to know, what is the bank doing here with these loans that they don't want anybody else to know, that is not being taught even in business school or to CPAs, lenders, or even real estate agents? I have a $200,000 mortgage on the screen right now at 6%. The payment is well within reach. Okay. It is $1,199.10. That's the payment. That's the principal and interest payment. And it's for 30 years. Okay. I'm putting on the screen the total amount of interest that you would pay on this loan at 6%. $231,676. Folks, here's my first question to you, and I need you to put it in the chat. My first question. $231,000. Is that 6% of the $200,000 that I borrowed? Is $231,676, is that 6% of $200,000? Because that's how we think about. Charlene says no. Derek says no. Listen, folks, what are you saying? What is it? Derek said no again. All right. What are we talking about here, folks? When we think of it without looking at all the paperwork, we think that if we have a 6% loan, that we're paying 6% of what we borrowed. Well, it's not true. All right. Charlene said it's 100% plus. Charlene, you couldn't have been more right. So that means we're going to pay back $431,676 if left to our own devices, if we don't know how to read an amortization schedule. That's one house for you and one house for the bank. Anybody interested in that program where you buy one house for you and buy one house for the bank? Anybody want to sign up for that? You want to sign up for that program? No, we do not. Okay? So that's it. Two for me. And I love those cartoons too. I remember that. Two for me, one for you. Charlie, I know what you're talking about. Okay? Listen, folks, watch this. All right. So total interest paid as a percentage of principal, Charlene, this is what you're talking about. Total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 115.838%. As of October 2015, when you're getting a mortgage or refinance, you have to receive your documents 3 days before closing. And in those documents, this is that you have this statement now, from that day forward, it says the statement just like this: total interest paid as a percentage of principal, 115.838% if you have a 6% loan. What? Prior to that, that wasn't spelled out in your documents when you were getting ready to close on a loan. Why did they leave that out? Why is it important to have it in there? Well, I'm so glad they did. As of October 15, 2015, because I started my business in 06. As of 2015, my phone has been ringing off the hook and it has not stopped. Because some of the people actually read their documents and say the 6% loan that I received actually is 115.838%. What can I do about it? They start researching the P.I.L.L method and they find us. Okay? So if you search for how to pay off loans faster or how to pay off a mortgage faster, you will find us. And once you find us, the P.I.L.L method, guess what? You can Google P.I.L.L method. When you Google P.I.L.L method, we are so popular now that even birth control is on page 2 when you Google P.I.L.L method. We're more popular than birth control right now. That is what's happening with a renewed interest in our personal finance. People are wanting to know, why are we paying 115.838% when we were led to believe? Nobody made you believe it. We were led to believe it was 6% and nobody corrected us. And now it turns out to be 115.838%. What can we do? All right, watch this. Watch this. Listen, she's laughing. Lizette. All right, folks, here it is. When you make this first payment, when you make this very first payment on this loan, if you're new to the room and you want to see this, go to YouTube, all right, Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. Search P.I.L.L method on a separate device and you can see our live and you'll be able to see it and listen to us on Clubhouse. Okay. All right. Well, here we go. $199 goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest. Look at the column titles. We got principal, we have interest, we have cumulative principal, cumulative interest, and principal balance. People often ask me, Don, can we get a amortization schedule from our bank? Yes, you can. But here's what it will not have. It will not have column 3 and column 4. Your amortization schedule from your bank, even if you went and pulled it out and you have it right in front of you right now, it won't have cumulative principal and cumulative interest. It will have principal, interest, and principal balance. That's it. We're going to add up for you how much interest you pay over time and how much principal you pay down over time so you can actually see how expensive this is. But even from the very first payment, out of that payment, $199.10 goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest. Wow. When you do the math, this is what happens when you do the math, folks. I'm going to put the math on the screen. Okay. So I'm going to stop what I have on the screen right now, and I'm going to put the math on. And here's the math I'm going to put on. If we're paying $1,000 interest out of the payment, what percentage is going to interest of our payment, and what percentage is going to principal? So let's stop and do the math, and let's see. All right. So let me put a calculator on the screen. All right. All right. I'm going to put a calculator right in the middle of this screen here. All right. Nothing on this screen except a calculator. All right. So we have $1,000 in interest. There it is. $1,000 in interest. And then what you do, you divide that by your entire principal and interest payment. $1,199.10 equals 83.3. So 83% of your payment here goes to interest. 83. 17% goes to principal to pay down your loan. What does that mean? If we broke it down to the payment dollar, that would mean out of every dollar you're paying, 83 cents of that dollar goes to interest, and only 17 cents out of your payment dollar is paying down your mortgage. Folks, how fair is that? How fair is that? Put it in the chat. How fair is that? When we are forced to look at the numbers, to break it down into percentages, 83% of my payment that I can afford, 83% of it goes to the bank. This is why they have this amortization schedule. Do you see how powerful that is for the banking system? Do you see now why it's not taught in schools? How powerful this is, how much interest. In my book, I call it interest consumption. In fact, let's stop and talk about the book for just a second, and then we'll continue, because we're at the top of the hour. We need to do a quick reset. You're in the P.I.L.L Method Club, and if you're not following the club, please do, so you can get this information. All right, get the information, so that, because we're here 3 days a week bringing you this information for free. All right, it's complimentary, so that you can get this information for yourselves, because we're not learning it in school. You have to be able to learn it somewhere. So let's talk about my book. Let's go ahead and put that on the screen right now. So we're talking about the P.I.L.L Method book, A Better Way to Eliminate Debt. And the reason why we came up with that name, the P.I.L.L Method, A Better Way to Eliminate Debt, is because every person who is a client of ours right now, from day one, has said something like this: I was hoping for, looking for, praying for a better way to handle my debt. Because the current way, there's something wrong with it. I may not be able to put my finger on it, but there's something wrong with having a 30-year loan. All right. There's something wrong with a system that where I can go to Houston or go to Miami or go to New York, and I can see a person driving a $200,000 car. And that car has to be paid off in 7 or 8 years. But it takes 30 years to pay off a $200,000 house. There's something wrong with a system like that, where we don't even think about the fact that a $200,000, you can't get a 30-year loan on a car, no matter how expensive it is. It has to be paid off in 7 or 8 years. That's it. You get a loan on a car, you can't get it for 30 years, but you can get a loan on a house for 30 years. So if you can pay off a car in 7 or 8, how come you can't pay off the same amount of money on your house in 7 or 8 years? You tell me, folks, is it possible? You better believe it's possible. And this is what the bank does not want you to know, how all of that works. My goodness. If you have a question and you want to know more about this, do this. So listen, folks, I need you to hear from somebody who took advantage of this information. His name is Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., the hip hop preacher, found out about us and said, you know what? My wife is desirous of even me, and I make a lot of money. She wants me to pay off our house, but she wants to do it in an efficient manner so she can feel good about it. Let's listen to what he has to say, and I'm going to finish teaching you how to read this amortization schedule. Doctor?
My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, and our team created the most powerful money management, wealth building, debt elimination system ever created. At our recent seminar in Nashville, Tennessee, the keynote speech was delivered by the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., as he's also known, mentioned he paid off his mortgage in 4 years using the P.I.L.L Method. I invite you to watch and listen.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Did you hear that? No mortgage, no stress. If you would like to become debt and mortgage free within an average of 7 to 9 years by cutting your interest costs by up to 75%, go to pillmethod.com and request a savings and earnings report today.
Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. This is what we're talking about right now, right here, right now. Okay? You want to know how to purchase, how to get your home paid off in this amount of time, how to save interest, how you can pay it off in record time without changing your budget? Get a savings and earnings report. Go to the top, click on my link at the top of the room. If you're watching us online, go to ICE. That stands for Interest Cancellation Expert, ICE10K.com. That's ICE, the number 10, the letter K.com. And when you put that into your browser, it will take you to my digital business card. Once you see that card, you will see another button that says Get a Savings and Earnings Report. Click the button. It'll take you to our website. Fill in all the information. There will be a place for you to confirm your cell phone number, your mobile number. When you click confirm, click it once and wait for a message to be sent to you. And that message will be a code. Get the code and take the code and put it back into the website. And then you'll be able to confirm that. Click the button that says, I want to save now, and it will let you into our financial form. Fill that out, and someone from my staff will give you a call and set up a consultation. You will then learn that the month, day, and year you can be debt-free on all of your debt, not just the mortgage, but everything, in an average of 7 to 9 years, and how much interest you can save. If that's what you want to know, then you can do that. Let's get back into this right now. We're going to go back to our screen and finish teaching how to read an amortization schedule and why it is so important for us to be able to read it and what banks don't want us to know about it. All right, let's go ahead and put it back up on the screen. There it is, folks. So once we do this, okay, we're paying $199.10 in principal. $1,000 goes to interest. And we do, look, we are left with a principal balance of $199,800.90 because only $199 of our payment actually paid down the loan. That's it. So the bank uses the principal balance on each line to determine how much interest we pay on the next line. All right, that's what they do. So because we owe less, that means we're going to pay less interest on line 2. And because of that, our interest cost on line 2 goes all the way down to only $999 in interest, from $1,000 to $999. You mean it's just $1 difference? And that dollar difference goes over to the principal amount, so your payment remains the same. So every month you pay a little more principal and a little less interest every month for 360 months. That's why your loan is so expensive, because you're not paying 6% on the $200,000 as a whole. You're paying a percentage of that money. You're paying on every line of your amortization schedule on the unpaid balance for 360 times. In other words, it's not one mortgage you're charged 6% on. It's 360 separate mortgages, because each line is a brand new mortgage. Each line. And you're charged each time. That's why it is so expensive. But here is where the weakness is, folks. Here's where the weakness is. You wanted to know what the weakness is. Here it is. Let's just say, I wish I could get somebody up on the stage to help me. Does anybody want to be a volunteer? Come up and help me? I would, or listen, just raise your hand. That would be great if you can. Some of you are at work. Some of you are listening in. We got Vernita here. How you doing, Miss Vernita? She's been 1 year on Clubhouse. Happy Clubhouse birthday to Miss Vernita. All right, folks, here we go. I need you to focus in here. This is how it's done. Let's just say our first payment here that I'm showing, number 1, is in January. February's principal payment would be listed right here, which is $200.10. We all know. Now, again, this is not how my program works. I'm just teaching how the bank makes its money and how you can disrupt it. Okay? So if we're paying our mortgage payment in January and we take a look at February's principal payment, which would be $200.10. Okay? Do we have to wait to February to give the bank that money? Because if we gave it to them this way, then if we gave it to them their way, we would wait till February, give the bank the $200.10, also give them the $999, and then we would be paid down to $199,600.80 on line 2. If we're paid down to line 2, the bank would use the principal balance on line 2 to tell us how much interest we would pay on line 3, which would be $998. Still a lot of money. But guess what? If we're in January, what about doing this instead? It's just a suggestion. We make our payment in January. We take a look at the principal payment for February, the $200.10. Do I have to wait till February to give that bank the $200.10? I need to see it online. I need to see it in the chat. Do I have to wait till February to give the bank that $200.10? What do you guys say? All right. All right. Alan says no online. All right. Charlene says no. I don't have to wait. So we can give that $200.10 if we have it. Keisha says no. All right. If we have that $200.10, if we have it, we could give it to the bank in January. If we do, guess what? We read earlier that none of that money goes to interest. All of that money goes to reduce the principal. So that $200.10 is immediately added to pay down the principal, and we're paid down to line 2 in January, where we owe $199,600.80. What? Yeah. So what just happened? By giving the bank, here's the weakness, folks. Here's the weakness. Here's what they don't want you to know. By giving them the $200 early, you eliminate line 2 from your schedule. Line 2 has been eliminated. Now for $1,200, because if you waited till February 1, it would cost you $1,200 to do this. By giving them the $200.10, we eliminate line 2 for just $200.10. what happens then, folks? What happens at that point? Do you see that if we eliminated line 2, that would mean our next mortgage payment would be on line 3, wouldn't it? Huh? So February's new payment, because remember, what we also read is that your payment schedule doesn't change. You owe a payment next month and your payment amount does not change. It's still $1,199.10. But since we got rid of line 2, then line 3 has to take its place, where 20110 goes to principal and 998 goes to interest. So here's my question. When we do that, what happened to the $999 of interest that was on line 2? There it is, folks. It has been canceled. It has been eliminated. Do you see why now banks don't even teach this to their employees? For $200.10 that I have sitting in my bank account, making 0.1% interest. Practically no interest at all, but I have the money there. I could take $200.10 and apply it to the mortgage, this mortgage, and save $999 in interest I'd never have to pay. Let me ask you something. How long would it take you to make $999 if I kept that $200.10 in my bank account? How long would it take to make $999? But by taking that money out and applying it to principal, I kill one line of my amortization schedule and kill $999 in interest I never have to pay. So of all that $231,000 the bank wanted me to pay, I just reduced it by nearly $1,000 in one move. What would happen if I did this then? What would happen if I paid my mortgage in January and I added the next 3 principal payments? I have it on the screen here. If you're new and you want to see this, go to search P.I.L.L method on YouTube and you'll be able to see this. And besides, once you get to YouTube, folks, go ahead and click subscribe and like some of these videos and click the notification bell so you'll know every time we get in here. All right? Watch this. Watch this. So we just made our mortgage payment in January. We took a look at our amortization schedule. We have the next 3 payments, $200.10, $201.10, $202.10. If I can see that, I'm just asking a question. If I have, that would add up to $603.30. If I have, hey, Steve, Steve Mack is in the room. If I have $603.30. If I have that in my bank account, could I take that money and prepay that money? Give that to the bank early? What if I did that? What would happen if I did? If I gave them my regular mortgage payment and an additional $603.10, that's the next 3 principal payments on this amortization schedule, I would eliminate the next 3 interest payments on this by giving them those principal payments. What? What? That's nearly $3,000 in interest I just saved by giving them $600 out of my bank account. Do you see why now? If you didn't know it before, do you see why the bank doesn't want you to know this and you cannot unsee it now? You can't unsee it now. Because this is why you can't ever know how they do it. Because once you do, you can start to figure out a plan, not only to save interest, but how you can optimally save interest. How can I save the most amount of interest per dollar that's mathematically possible for me and my family or my business? Now it's a little more complicated than we have here. But if you do it right, you can save more interest than any human can figure out on their own if you have a computer that has been specifically designed to beat the bank's computer. Our computer has been has been programmed to beat the bank's computer in figuring interest and interest savings, so we move the right amount of money in the right month on the right day of the month, so that each dollar you apply to principal, each dollar saves the maximum amount of interest that dollar can save. All the guesswork has been taken out of it. All right. Elise says here, she says, I'm a believer. She's in the chat here. I'm a believer. When I got my first, when I got a mortgage, she says, and started paying an extra $5. Just this, it's not a misprint. $5, not $500. It's just an extra $5 a month for 6 months. My mortgage amount was reduced. Just an extra $5. So Elise, what if you knew how much interest that $5 was actually saving you? So Kia says, Elise, you put an extra $5 towards principal, right? Yep. That's the only place you could put it. Kia, that extra $5 went to principal. Let me show you. So folks, I'm talking about an extra $200. I'm talking about an extra $600. Elise is talking about an extra $5. What can $5 do to help me? All right, watch this. Here's my next slide. Okay, it's called the power of the penny. You want to know what $5 can do for you, especially on this mortgage? Let me tell you. We just learned by paying an extra $200. If you listen, you really do want to hone in on this. If you want to see this, if you can't see it now, watch the replay. This is called the power of the penny, folks. For an extra $200, we just learned we could save $1,000 in interest. What if I don't have an extra $200? What if I only have $100? I have half that. I have half the $200. I put $100 on principal. Guess what? I would save half the interest. I could save $500 in interest for $100. Would it still be worth it to prepay $100 if I could save $500 in interest? Would it be worth it? Well, guess what, folks? I don't have $100. Elise says yes. Okay, Elise says yes. I don't have $100. I got $50. Can I find an extra $50 anywhere? Extra $50. If I applied it to this loan, I would save $250 in interest. Why is this important? Because what we're taught to look at, if I owe $200,000 and I put $50 on it, what does that do to the principal balance? Practically nothing. Yeah, I put $50 on. It barely moves the needle on a $200,000 mortgage. But when I see that it can save me $250 in interest, that $50, now that my $50 means something, doesn't it, folks? Doesn't it? All right. So I don't have $50. I've got $25. $25 applied to principal saves $125 in interest on this loan. Let's look at the closest I could come to this on this example, Elise. Let's skip down to $6.25. Not $600. $6.25 applied to this loan would save me $37.50. Miss Elise, would you like to know how much interest your $5 is saving you? Once you know how much, see, here's where it gets really powerful, ladies and gentlemen. When you know how much interest your small amounts of money can save you, when you eliminate interest, you get out of debt faster. When you pay more interest, you stay in debt longer. This is why the bank does not want you to know how much interest you're saving when you give them that money. When you go to your department store, you buy something on sale. Doesn't your department store, your grocery store print at the bottom of the receipt how much interest you're saving? Yeah. then why doesn't the bank send you a similar receipt? Thank you for the extra $5 you sent us, Elise. Here's how much interest you saved because of it. Thank you for the extra $100 you sent us, Joe. Here's how much interest you saved because of that. Here's the extra $10,000 you placed on principal, Barbara. Here's how much interest you just saved with that money. Oh my goodness. What is going on here when we take a look at prepayment of principal and how important this is to understand it? But I'm not done yet, folks. I'm not done. You know, the reason why I entitled this The Power of the Penny is because I pick up pennies in the parking lot. I pick up pennies in the parking lot for this reason. I know how powerful pennies are when we do this. $1.56 saves us $9, $9.38 in interest. What? Listen, let me ask you something. If you gave me $1.56 and I gave you back $9.38, how many times would you guys do that? Think about it. You give me $1.56, I give you back $9.38. How many times would you do that? Anybody? Go ahead. Put it in here. Put it in the chat. How many times would you do that? Do you realize the bank has... Charlene said, I can't even read that number. An infinite amount of times. Listen, folks, the reason why we're breaking it down this way, thank you, LaShawna. She says, as much as I could. The reason why I'm putting this in here is because the bank has to do the very same thing. When you give them $1.56, it makes it impossible for them to charge you $9.38 on this loan. How would you like to take $1.56 and change that you have in your change drawer, give it to the bank and make it impossible for them to charge you $9.38? All the way down to 1 penny, folks. All of my pennies are working. 1 penny saves you 7 cents on this loan. Is this important to know? Do you see why now the bank doesn't want us to learn about how important it is to learn prepayment of principal, isolating the principal amount, leverage, and liquidity? Do you want to know how the right amount to pay and when? Oh my goodness. Let me teach you something else about these loans and how they work. All right. You ready? You ready to learn something else new? Do you think this was powerful information? If this is powerful information, put some number 9s in the chat right now, everybody. If you think this information is powerful, put number 9s in the chat and share this room out a little bit more because we only have 16 shares. If you think that this is life changing, go ahead and put 9s in the chat. Oh my goodness. Keisha, Kia, Derek, Charlene. Oh, listen, she said, oh, she's celebrating with a cake with fire emojis. Come on, Charlene. That's what I'm talking about. Kia put the number 9s in the chat. Laverne puts a number 9. Oh my goodness. Just now she did that. Laverne, thank you so much for being here today. All right. Dee Dee Sparks puts several 9s in here. All right. So here's what we got, folks. Here's what we got. I need you to see this. If you think this is powerful, can I show you something even more powerful? I'm going to show you something even more powerful than you just learned right now. Watch this. I'm looking at this amortization schedule for 1 year. 1 year. All right. If you look at, hey, David, David's getting on. Listen, he's getting on board with the number 9s. Lizette, even Lizette online is doing it. Earl Bender online watching us on YouTube says number 9. David on it says number 9. Listen, every people who are watching us online, watching us and listening to us on Clubhouse, everybody is getting involved in this thing, folks. They're still putting the number 9s in. Doggone it. I have so much energy. Here's what I need you to see here. I've got 1 year's worth of payments here. I need you to focus in now on cumulative principal and cumulative interest. We are going over why the bank doesn't want us to understand prepayment of principal. Now, I need to go on record and say I am not anti-bank. Believe it or not, I like the bank. Why? Because I've learned the cheat code. I've learned how to read an amortization schedule. So when I borrow money, I want to borrow it at a discount on all my loans. Everybody here loves discounts. Okay? Everybody loves discounts. So if you could get a discount and do this, why not? Why not do it if you could get a discount? You know, we have a couple here in Huntsville when I met them in 2008. They were just out of college. Okay. She's a teacher. He's a real estate agent. Okay. Met them. And even though it was a new concept, there was something about loans, because he was a real estate agent, putting people in 30-year loans. There was something about that said, you know what? We're putting them in these 30-year loans, but it seems to me it doesn't have to work like this. So when we came along, when I was introduced to him, he listened intently and got on our program. 6.5 years later, now debt-free. In fact, you can see that video on my YouTube channel. If you can search for the couple that paid off their mortgage in 6.5 years, and you can watch that video. That video has almost 400,000 views. Okay, it's less than 9 minutes. 400,000 views of a couple that talked about the P.I.L.L method and how they paid off their mortgage in 6.5 years. Did you realize that they went to private school? Both of them went to private school and used student loans to pay for it. Private school is expensive. The very next year, all their student loans were paid off too. Mortgage gone in 6.5 years. So all the student loans gone the next year. Total debt freedom in 7.5 years for this young couple. What did they do then? They went out, bought another house. Did they sell the house that they're in? Did they sell the house that they paid off? They put a renter in that house. Put a renter in that house and bought another house. Guess what they did? They paid off another house. Put a renter in that house. And now the house they're in now, they're going to pay that off next year. 3 houses paid off. A teacher and a real estate agent. And remember what year I said I met them? 2008. Guess what happened in 2008? It was we call it the Great Recession. It wasn't the Great Depression, but it was the Great Recession. And even in the recession, in these recessionary years, still paid off the mortgage in 6.5 years. Folks, this is why the bank doesn't want us to know the power of interest cancellation. Watch this that I have on the screen right now. Okay? I'm going to go back here to see if there's anybody who's raised their hand who wants to come to the stage. Nope, nobody has raised their hand. Okay? Hi, Deborah. I see you in there. All right? All right. So look at this. All right? I'm going to show you something here. I want to show you line 12 on the amortization schedule. If you look at line 12 under cumulative principal, that's column 3 and column 4, cumulative principal and cumulative interest. In 12 months, if we make this mortgage payment exactly like the bank wants us to, we will pay this loan down by $2,456 and a penny. $2456.01. If you look at cumulative interest, I want you to see how much interest the bank wants you to pay on this. This is why this is so powerful for the banks. But because it's so powerful, I'm going to also show you where the weakness is in this system. Okay? 2456.01 that we would pay down. That's all the principal payments added up for 1 year. And we're looking at the interest column and seeing all these $1,900 payments added up for 1 year comes to $11,933.19. Here's my question to you. Should it cost nearly $12,000 in interest just to pay the mortgage down by $2,456 and a penny? Does it make a difference when we look at it this way, folks? Does it make a difference to you now? Let me ask you a question about the 2456. If I'm going to keep this house, eventually, in this loan, I have to give the bank at least $2,456 and a penny towards principal to keep the house. I mean, that's what I have to do. But here's my question. Do I have to pay the $2,456 and a penny over 12 months? You tell me. Do I have to pay it in 12 monthly payments? The $2,456 and a penny? I need some comments. I need some comments. Do I have to pay the $2456.01 in 12 monthly payments? What do you guys say? All right? Those of you who are listening, what do you guys say? Put it in the chat. All right? Kia says no. Derek says no. Elise says no. What could I do? If I have $2,456 and a penny, what could I do? Could I pay that on line one? Oh, man. Keisha says no. Steve Mack says no. If I have the $2,456 in the bank, if I have it, I'm not saying that this is the way to do it. I'm just saying if I have it, could I pay it all at one time instead of over 12 monthly installments? And if I did, if I paid it on line one, would I be paid down to line 12 in 1 month? And what would happen if I did, folks? What would happen if I paid it down? Okay? If I paid it down to that point, ooh-wee, what would happen? How much interest would I save if I did that? Okay? I need you to see this next slide. Watch this. All those interest payments would be gone. And it would total, here's how much it would total. $11,933.19. That's how much interest I would save. Okay? I would save all of that interest if I would just give the bank the $24.56 all at one time if I had it and knock off 11 mortgage payments I would never have to make. Do you see now why the bank does not want you to see what the weakness is in the amortization schedule that they use to make so much money? This is why they don't teach it to their employees. So Deborah wants to know how. Deborah, you can watch it on YouTube. Go to YouTube. All right. Oh, thank you, Elise. You can go to YouTube and search P.I.L.L method, and you can watch it live. And you can also watch the replays on YouTube or Facebook. YouTube or Facebook. All right, great. All right, and Deborah is in Las Vegas, folks. All right. She's okay. Thank you, Las Vegas, for showing up. All right, so do you guys see this? Do you see how important this is? Oh my. When you learn this, you can employ some strategies that have to do with how all of this works. Okay? So what if you have a strategy now based on what you're learning now, okay? Based on what you're learning now. What if you're in a position, thank you, David. Thank you. What if you're in a position, watch this, to put now that you know this, what if you're in a position to put a large down payment on your home? When you understand interest cancellation, when you understand how all of this works. Okay. Liz Lizeth says here she's watching us on YouTube right now. Let's see, what does she have to say? I have to, okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Listen, watch the entire thing. And listen, we're going to continue on Sunday. We're going to wrap this whole thing up in part 3 on Sunday. All right. I can already tell we're going to need what is the P.I.L.L method part 3. And we're going to be here Sunday, and we're going to be we're going to join forces with the club, the Mortgage Syndicate Club. The P.I.L.L method and the Mortgage Syndicate Club are going to be together. We're going to be in the Mortgage Syndicate Club Sunday morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be in that club, and we're going to finish this thing up. Well, hopefully we'll finish it up. And if not, we'll go to part 4. There's so much information here. Okay? There's more information here that I could teach in a year. But watch this, folks. Here's what I need you to see. All right? We're going to go to what I call down payment deception. This is one of the things you can learn by understanding prepayment of principal. A business person that I met building a $400,000 home a few years ago, all right, at 3%. 3%. Okay, this is, people are saying, I wish I could get 3% these days. And he asked me, listen, Don, I put down enough down payment to get into this loan, but I have an extra $100,000. Should I put that $100,000 as a down payment, and then all I would have to finance is the $300,000 for 30 years at 3%? And so what I told him was this: you don't want the $300,000 loan. You want the $400,000 loan. That's what you want. And you wanted to get it at a 30-year amortization, get it for the 30-year term at 3%. You want the $400,000. Now, he's an engineer, and he's looking at this. Well, how does that make sense? And then here are the two loans side by side. Here are the two loans side by side. $400,000 and $300,000. $400,000 on the left, $300,000 on the right. Okay? There we are. Well, what's going on here? The payment on the left is more. It's $1,686.42. The payment on the right is less. It's $1,264.81. So he says, Don, I have a smaller payment here. Also, if I look at the amount of interest that the bank wants me to pay over 30 years, it's $207,111. On the $400,000 side, it's only $155,331 on the $300,000 mortgage side. But then we get into it more. The amount of return on the bank's investment is exactly the same on both loans. All 3% loans are 51% loans. So no matter how much you borrow at 3%, the bank wants you to pay back 51% of what you borrowed. So I'm getting ready to show him how that $100,000 benefits the bank more than it benefits him. Because once they get that $100,000 back, they can lend it out to somebody else, couldn't they? But the return on investment on the $300,000 is still 51%. But watch this. He went on to point out that the difference in interest paid, the $207,000 versus the $155,000. He says, Doc, here's how much interest I'm going to save: $51,779.60. That's nothing to sneeze at. Why would you want me to pay an extra $51,000? And I said, I don't. So, but why do you want me to get the $400,000 loan instead of the $300,000 loan? I said, because of this, because of interest cancellation. What if you took the $400,000 loan, all right, made your first payment on the $400,000 loan, where $686.42 went to principal, $1,000 went to interest, okay? Where's your $100,000, sir? He says, I still have that $100,000 in my bank. And so now I'm going to ask you, people who are watching this, what could he do with the $100,000 now? What could he do with that $100,000 that he has in the bank now? What could he do with it? What could he do? He still has it. What could he do now? Anybody want to venture a guess on what he could do with the $100,000? Anybody? He could prepay it. He could prepay it on the 400K. Oh, David's got it. David's got it. All right. Francesca Francesca on Facebook says, I am so glad you are on today. In the middle of purchasing real estate, the investment loan is at 10% interest, and I will be ready to implement your strategy. Listen, Francesca, let me tell you something. That 10% loan on your real estate is a blessing. I have got videos that are already up on what to do with a 10% loan. Ha! You can kill it with a 10% loan. Wait a minute. Oh my goodness, Francesca, we need to talk soon. Listen, I would love to be able to teach you what you could do with a 10% loan and how you can save even more money at 10% interest than you can at 7. I would love to be able to show you how you can gain equity faster and cheaper at that 10% interest rate because it's an investment property. Real estate investors, you need to watch some of my previous videos. Look for them. Search for where it says 10% or 7%, and you'll be able to see how you're better off at these higher interest rates. So let's see what happened. Okay. So Laverne said, show me too, please. Come on, folks. All right. Let me finish this part up, and then I'm just going to put an amortization schedule up, and we're going to do a 10% loan. All right. In the last few minutes here, because we've got to. This is so powerful. Each piece has so many layers. Okay. Each piece has so many layers. Okay. Here's what we're talking about. If we apply that $100,000 to principal, watch this. Now apply the $100,000 to principal, just like David said. Watch this. Remember, we're looking at cumulative principal now. Cumulative principal is column 3. Look, count it. 1, 2, 3. We're looking at cumulative principal, and we're going to go all the way down on this schedule to where we have $100,000 in principal. Because if you give it to the bank all at one time, you go immediately to line 125 on your amortization schedule in just 1 month. Remember, he was concerned about saving $51,000 in interest over 30 years. If he applies this $100,000 to his mortgage in 1 month, how much interest does he save in 1 month? Not over 30 years, but in just 1 month. This is over $100,000 in interest he will never have to pay. And he accomplished that in 1 month by taking his $100,000 and not putting it down as a down payment. He put it down as a prepayment. And tell me this, folks, when you take a look at the principal balance, does he still have a $300,000 loan? Yes, he does. But putting it down as a prepayment does way more work for you, a lot less work for the bank. Don't ever put a large payment down on a mortgage or a car. Use that money as a prepayment, and we'll show you how to structure it so it saves you even more interest in the long run. Oh my goodness. There's just so much going on here. So listen, we knocked off 125 payments that we never have to make. Let's do the rest of this math here. Because Laverne, you want me to show you what a 10% loan can do? Okay. We'll do that. All right. As part of what we're talking about is understanding prepayment of principal. Okay. Let's finish this out. So applying the $100,000 as a prepayment instead of a down payment on your $400,000 mortgage will save you about $110,000 in interest. And it knocks off immediately in 1 month. It knocks off 10 years and 3 months off your loan. What? 10 years and 3 months. The same money that if you put it as a down payment, you start on payment number 1 on your schedule. If you put it as a prepayment, you start off on your loan, a 30-year loan, you knock off 10 years and 3 months immediately. Laverne said, Laverne, I hope that's all you said, because we can't hear you. Because I know some people are saying some other kind of stuff once they see this. Laverne, are you just loving this information? Do you just love it? All right, Derek says, my goodness, look at this. Why start out on payment number 1 when you can start out on payment 125 using the same money? She said, look at here. Wow, wow, wow. So listen, folks, here's what we have. Now, here's what you have left. You take that $100,000 that you were going to put as a down payment, you put it down as a prepayment. Instantly, you only have 19 years, 9 months left on this loan. If you do nothing else, you only have 19 years, 9 months left using the same money. Okay? Ambassador for Christ says, and it increases equity in the home. Instantly, it increases equity in your home. Thank you very much, Ambassadors for Christ. You were exactly right. 1018. Come on. Everybody's beginning to get it. Everybody wants to learn. Everybody wants to read. All right. It says, okay, Black Queen Africa. What are you saying here? Okay. He says that I have a friend going through a crisis, not paying his mortgage for 1 year and asking for a modification. It took him 2 years now, and his account is still, what does that say? Okay, listen, we can help him. We have systems in the P.I.L.L method that we can stop foreclosures. We can help you to get out of this situation. Hit me up, African Queen, hit me up on my Instagram and find out if your friend wants some help with this. We have people on our staff that can help in a situation just like this. There's so much here, folks. I wish I had the time to cram it all in to our 2-hour show. All right. But let me finish this up, because Laverne is sitting on the edge of her seat wanting to see how a 10% loan can actually help. All right. So, you now have only 19 years, 9 months left. Watch this. Continuing to use the P.I.L.L method, because now he puts everything in the P.I.L.L method, right? Put everything in the P.I.L.L method. He will pay off this mortgage in just 7 years. The total amount, remember the total amount of interest that the bank wanted? All he's going to pay is $30,000 interest on the entire loan using his current budget, using this methodology, and be done in 7 years. So if the bank wanted from him, all right, the bank wanted, how much interest was $207,000? Okay. That's over $170,000 in interest savings. So if he was willing to sign a contract where he's going to pay an extra over $100,000 more, $170,000 more than he needed to pay, he was going to pay that to get this house, because that's what everybody else is doing. What can he do now with this $170,000? Anything he wants. What if he wanted to invest that money? What if he invested that money instead, and over the next 30 years turned it into over $2 or $3 million? What if he could do that instead? Folks, it is not the extra interest that you're paying that's the problem. The real problem is the extra interest that money can never make for you because you gave it to the bank. You're spending your children's inheritance on interest. I'm showing you how not to, so that you can level up, so you can put away for an inheritance, and put this away for your children's children. Come on. So let's go ahead. Let me get out of this and put on the screen an amortization schedule. Are you ready? All right. So I'm closing this out now. We're going to put on the screen an amortization schedule. All right. And we're going to put in a 10%. We're going to put in a 10% mortgage. All right. So we're going to go to Brett Whistle, and anybody can do this. Anybody could do this. Thank you, David. All right. We're going to put in an investment property. Listen, let's say it's 300,000. All right. Well, in fact, Francesca, can you tell us about how much you borrowing at 10%? And then I'll run the numbers. So you can just write it in. All right. How much are you borrowing? And then I'll use your numbers instead so you can see what's going on. All right. I hope you're still listening. All right. How much are you borrowing? About. It doesn't have to be exact. She says about 350,000. Okay. All right. 350. Let's put I understand. I'm going to put the whole 350,000 in. Okay. Because we're short on time. We're going to put 10% interest in. All right. For 30 years. Okay. 30 years. Here is the payment. $3,071.50. Now she says this is an investment property. So hopefully, the way we want to do this is that the interest, the rent I'm charging is going to cover the loan. Okay. It's going to cover the loan. Okay. So I need you to see something, folks, and I need the first person to point it out. All right. Because if I have a 10% loan, here is what my principal payments look like and my interest payments look like. My principal payments are now $150 range, where my interest payments are in the $2,900 range. All right. And Laverne, are you available to talk to us right now? Are you still available to talk? I don't know.
Yes, sir. I most definitely am.
Are you seeing? Are you still available to talk? Could you turn down the volume on your other device?
Yes, sir. Oh, my apologies. Let me do that.
I hear myself.
There we go.
Okay. So based on what you learned today, this is your first time in the room?
Yes, sir. First time ever.
Okay. So if you're looking at this loan and you saw 10% prior to coming to this room, what would that do to you?
Man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. But when I tell you this is amazing, this is amazing.
So let me show you something here. Look at this loan here and tell me, what do you see? Can you still see it?
No, I cannot. And when I turned it down, I turned it all the way up.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Here's what we want you to see. It's $154 going to principal, $2,900 going to interest. What do those small principal payments mean to you now, based on what you just learned?
That is money that, I can be using for wealth building.
Oh, can you explain a little bit further? How can you use those small principal payments to your advantage?
Because once I pay into the mortgage and pay it off sooner, then that gives me more money to, build toward wealth building for my family. So
to get rid of one line, so if you make the first payment in January and your principal payment is $156 for February, what could you do with that $156 while you're still in January? Could you prepay that to your loan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it easy to come up with $156?
Oh, you better believe I'll find it.
Okay, so let me ask you something. Because your interest rate is at 10%, that's what causes these tiny principal payments. The higher the interest rate, the smaller the principal payment.
Get out of here.
What?
I'm just floored. This is awesome information.
Listen, let me show you. Let me just show you something else here. And this is for you too, Francesca. All right. In 1 year, all right, in 1 year, I'm looking at the principal payment here and the cumulative principal and cumulative interest. In 1 year with this loan, here's what real estate investors do because their tenants are paying the rent. Okay. This is what they're not looking at. I will use the tenant's money to pay down my mortgage, but out of all the money that I get from the tenant, only $1,945.55 goes to principal in 1 year, less than $2,000. How much goes to interest? $34,912.45. So, because of the small principal payments, 1 year's worth of payments only is $1,945. What if I have several $1,000s in the bank already? Could I take $2,000 out of the bank, prepay it to this loan, and knock off a year's worth of payment and save over $30,000 in interest I never have to pay? Are you seeing that, Miss Francesca? Does that make sense to you?
Wow, that is amazing.
Can you see that, Miss Laverne?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So listen, I can you see why I get so excited about giving out this information so people can finally start reading amortization schedule, especially if you're a real estate agent, because especially if you are a real estate investor, because the reason why you get a loan in the first place, here's what the real reason is. The loan helps you to purchase equity. But if you do it the bank's way, that $1,945 in equity actually costs you $34,912.45.
Man, you dropping so many gems right now. I just don't even know what to do. I want to do a backflip.
Okay. So what if you could get your equity, what if we could save, I can get that same amount of equity for $32,000 less. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Come on. And what could you do with that $32,000 savings?
Invest in some more real estate. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Somebody else wants to come up to the stage now in our last few seconds. All right. Come on now. Come on up. We got our last few minutes here, folks. We got 2 minutes left. I've got to shut it down early at the right time. So raise your hand. Come on up. If you got a question, you got a comment, come on up. And then I will try to handle it in the time we have left. So, folks, here's what we got. This Deborah, all right? All right, let's see if we can bring Miss Deborah up. Miss Deborah, how are you doing today?
Hello, good morning.
Did you have a question or a comment?
Yes, so I owe $100,000 on my mortgage right now. I've been paying on it since 2015.
All right, Miss Deborah, you are in the matrix right now. We can barely hear you. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come back to you in just a second. We're going to let everybody online go. All right. And say goodbye because it's a 2-hour show. Thank you so much for everybody online that we're going to be back here on Sunday and we're going to do another installment of what is the P.I.L.L method. We're dead part 2 today. Watch part 1 and part 2. We're going to be back for part 3 on Sunday. We're going to give the last word to Dr. Eric Thomas. See you Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Central. That's 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a wonderful rest of your day and happy Sabbath to you all for those that it applies to. All right? Talk to you later.
My name is Don Daniel, founder of P.I.L.L Method International, and our team created the most powerful money management, wealth building, debt elimination system ever created. At our recent seminar in Nashville, Tennessee, the keynote speech was delivered by the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. E.T., as he's also known, mentioned he paid off his mortgage in 4 years using the P.I.L.L method. I invite you to watch and listen.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down for my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.
Did you hear that? No mortgage, no stress. If you would like to become debt and mortgage free within an average of 7 to 9 years by cutting your interest costs by up to 75%, go to PILLmethod.com and request a savings and earnings report today.